Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. A 0-0 draw. I have absolutely no idea who is going to be tuning into this, whether anybody will or anyone's going to watch it. But, well, we might as well get a review out because it's the opening day of the season. And that was the good, the bad, and the ugly of Aston Villa FC. Right. Well, when you're playing Newcastle are one of the most physical, hardworking, bully boy teams there are to go up against. They're very, very hard to play against if you are not really at it. And so the way Aston Villa have beaten Newcastle in the last couple of years at Villa Park has been when we've started fast and scored early, and then we can't really allow them to impose their physicality upon the game. We don't really allow them to get into a kind of tight 4-5-1 shape, exactly as I talked about on the preview show the other day. But today, for us, unfortunately, Aston Villa did start quite slow. Now, you can probably argue, well, it is the first game of the season. They're not necessarily going to have the sort of cohesion we'll see maybe in a month's time. But you'd still expect it to be a little bit better than it was today. And I think in that final third, we were completely incoherent in the first half, constantly running into each other, constantly passing it to Newcastle. Just poor performances all round, particularly in the final third, but really around the entire team in the first half, apart from Marco Bizzo. I thought Bizzo was absolutely fantastic today. Didn't do anything wrong. He had authority. He had character. He made good saves. His distribution was good. Didn't panic at all. And you've got Anthony Gordon, who must be one of the hardest pressers in the Premier League, bearing down on him. An excellent debut from him, and indicative that Aston Villa have finally sorted out that backup goalkeeper problem that we've had now for 3-4 years. Because now we have Bizzo and we have Emi Martinez, two absolutely fantastic goalkeepers, particularly Martinez, obviously. But that was a really positive start from Bizzo. We'll see how he goes for the rest of the season. You think he's going to feature in Europe quite a bit, but really good to have finally a backup goalkeeper who is not Robin Olsen. Because if Olsen plays today, well then the nerves he puts into the rest of the defence, I just don't feel like Villa get out of that with a clean sheet. I can see comments coming in now. We'll get to those in a second. But so first half, because we started quite slow and we were quite, giving the ball away all the time and bloody running into each other, Newcastle were able to impose themselves that really hard-running, hard-working, muscular midfield that they have of Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali, and who's the other one? Bruno Guimaraes. They were able to take control of the game really centrally, and we were not able to play out. They were pressing well, and the sort of the pace of it was ferocious, and in the end disrupted us. But you could say that really, I think they only really had one clear chance, which was similar to the Gordon chance in the second half when Konsa got red carded. More on that in a sec. It was that Villa lost the ball kind of in the centre, ball through the middle. Dean and Tyrone Mings getting each other's way. What did I say about Villa players running into each other? And Alanga runs in behind, one-on-one, doesn't take his chance. So we got very fortunate there. Bizzo did pull off a very good save, though. But that, off the top of my head, is the only really clear-cut chance Newcastle had that I can think of, despite the fact that they were by far the better team in the first half and putting us under a lot of pressure and physically, dominating it, really. Second half, though, and this is, I think, Newcastle's potential problem this season. Second half, Newcastle the energy levels dropped, right? They weren't able to keep up the helter-skelter intensity of the first half, and it dropped off in the second. I think Villa raised their game. I think we were more cohesive with our passing, and we were finding kind of triangles through that 4-5-1 that Newcastle do. And it felt like it was on its way towards a draw where Villa have chances and don't take them, or Villa eventually find their way through. A substitute comes on, changes the game, and Villa maybe win 1-0. That's kind of the way it felt like it was going. But then I say that, but then Newcastle looked like they were on course for a clear-cut chance. when they put a ball straight through the middle, like with the Langer's chance the first half. Villa's defence got beaten with just a straight ball through the middle and a pacey, attacker getting through. First half, it was Elanga. Second half, it was Anthony Gordon. As I say, I can see the comments coming in. Please like here. Please subscribe. Please leave your comments. I will get to them in a second. Subscriptions really help. The likes really help. Get this growing on the algorithm or whatever. Yes, I think. That red card. 2 games in a row now where Aston Villa have given away absolutely idiotic red cards, and both times, unfortunately for him, it's come from Matty Cash doing something badly. I think Cash's performance defensively was okay. Attacking wise, he was making rash balls, I thought, over the top that were just going nowhere, and got into the final third. Cash in the final third, that is always going to be his weakness. He isn't very good in the final third. He just isn't. And a ball across that, God knows what he's doing. He's made a good run. He's pulled it back where all of Villa's players aren't. Newcastle then have an overload, put a ball through the middle. And Konsa, I mean, look, it's very light touch, but you cannot give Gordon the opportunity to go down in that scenario, because he will, and rightly so. I mean, it's the smarter thing to do. I just thought with Konsa, don't do it. Don't touch it. Chase him back, force him into the one-on-one, and just keep your arm around him, just hold him. Instead, no, idiotic red card, just like we did at Man United on the final day. And I would say the one concern I had from this game was, not necessarily, yes, we were very poor in the first half, but you can kind of put that down to just a day where Newcastle are that physical helter-skelter team. And Villa, maybe aren't just quite there with their full momentum yet. But also then you look at the United game and think how bad we were in that game. And today, in both of them, we've given away sloppy red cards from sloppy passes from Matty Cash. Or that came about from sloppy passes from Matty Cash. So, not Cash's finest hour, that ball at all. And Konsa got to be smarter than that, I think. It was just a really poor red card. Again, not the first one he's done during his Villa career. But where, I said the good, the bad, and the ugly at the top of this. The bad was the first half. The maybe not necessarily the good, but the better was the start of the second half, where it felt like Villa were taking control of a tired-looking Newcastle, making them look quite pedestrian, I thought. But then in that sort of final, 20 minutes, we had to play ugly, and we did it very well. You do have to give full credit to Villa for holding out against that Newcastle side. I thought Kamara was fantastic in that last 20 minutes. I actually thought Kamara was, of all of our outfield players, I think he was the closest to being very good. I think that Watkins had a really tough day running around, but he was trying to make things happen in a brutal day against Fabian Schär and Dan Burn. It is the hardest job on the pitch, what he did. I think there were occasions where he looked like he was doing okay. But I think, Kamara and the defence, in the midfield defending with them, Anana as well with his big long legs. In that last 20 minutes, you do have to give them a lot of credit, because that was a lot of pressure against a very good opposition in Newcastle. I think, again, were I to say my question marks over Newcastle are, I think, can they keep up that kind of helter-skelter style they have when they've got Champions League and Premier League? I doubt it. It just looks like a very difficult thing to do. And it might just catch them out later this season, injury-wise, and they might just be knackered. But also, I think at times it reminds me of a Jose Mourinho team, where when Mourinho teams in the past, when you did to Mourinho what he liked to do to the opposition, which was sit deep, hit on the break and all that, when you do that to him, his teams can end up looking a little bit lost, really. Like they don't really have the kind of, that nous to find a ball through to get a chance. And I think Newcastle looked like that in the last 20 minutes. Didn't really look like there was any player there that was going to find that key pass. Though, Barnes, a great block from Cash from a volley that was going in. And Barnes, again, with a really good ball back to Anthony Gordon, who probably should have just hit it first time. We were fortunate Isak wasn't playing today. We're fortunate Isak's thrown a giant strop. But then at the same time, I think Villa defensively in that last 20 minutes, we have to give them a lot of praise, and bailed out Ezri Konsa for what was I just think a really poor decision to get red carded. And look, I've talked about Villa's squad in depth recently. I think that right centre back area is where we are really risking it this season at the moment. Unless the plan is just to stick Kamara in there and then Onana plays as the CDM and Yuri drops deep with him. Maybe that's the plan. Personally, I would like somebody to be challenging Konsa for his position, because now having Bezo there challenging Martinez means that I'm sure Martinez's performances will get even better from the world's number one to the universe's number one. And with Konsa, I think Konsa has been needing proper competition now for about 2 years, because I think he doesn't have he never really has to question whether he's going to be starting or not. Sometimes having someone pushing you helps you raise your game, and I think Konsa probably needs it at the moment. Villa, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not the best starts the season, but the unbeaten run now goes to a full year at home, which is fantastic. A draw against Newcastle, okay, fine, but I do think we're gonna have to get 3 points a bit. Like we're gonna have to build up the points quickly this season. We can't allow ourselves to get into the situation we got in last year where we had to make a late charge for Champions League places. We have to get going, I think, quite quickly. But like I said the other day, it feels like Villa are a week or two away from having the full contingent of options that they want. And I think today, people have been talking to me a lot. I see the comments, we'll get to them in a second, about how wrong I am to think that Rodgers hasn't necessarily been fantastic centrally at times last season. I think today showed it again. I think that Asensio centrally in that support striker role, where he would have been today instead of Tielemans, retains the ball just better. And I think that at times Rodgers today was really poor. I think Rodgers is a fantastic player who could one day go on and play for Real Madrid. But I think we saw again today that with his moments of brilliance, there are moments where he loses the ball in dangerous spots, or just, just doesn't retain it as consistently as Asensio does, which is why I just think Asensio went into that position. And I don't think it's a massive coincidence that Villa's form picked up from February onwards when Asensio went into that role, and we just had somebody who's a little bit more retain the ball and pick a pass here, and then that enables Rodgers to go on and do the attacking things. Look, I might be talking absolute bollocks. Let me know if you think I am, but it's just a thinking I've just had in my head. But what am I? I'm just a fan who watches Aston Villa every week and just expressing an opinion. And let me know what yours are. A point, good. Newcastle first half looked like an excellent team at times. I think we saw some of their limitations today, that they are a workmanlike team sometimes, and that they can be just pulled apart. But when you allow themselves to assert themselves on a game physically, they're very difficult to deal with, as we found in the first half. And thanks to Bezo, we got away with it. Second half, better, but then just absolute... just 30 seconds of pure stupidity going to a red card, and then full praise to the team for getting through to the end of the game. In the end, it turns out to be, cliche, a good point. Now, I'll just quickly get to the comments. Richard Placentino, who's watching on Facebook, poor second to every ball, way too slow and laboured. Yeah, I think, I've said in the past with Villa, my critique of Villa under Unai Emery, Emery is God to me. He's revolutionised the way Aston Villa play football, the way we as a club see football, and we as fans observe football. But I would say that during his time at Villa, there have been games where Villa go from composed to casual. I have been saying this for nearly 2 years. And I think that in the first half, that casual nature was there a bit too much. Though I think first half, a lot of praise to Newcastle for just starting hard and fast and disrupting us. Can't not that. But you also have to say casual in the sense of passes are all over the place. We're running into each other. There's no cohesion. And got to pick it up. And Emery told him that it's at half time and then went out and picked it up. And we looked like a team who could have gone on and maybe won it, though sort of felt like it was going towards a draw. Danny, always good to see you, mate. Thank you so much for your comment. We looked flat, mate, very slow, lack of pace too. That RCB is an issue. It is. I mean, I was sat here a year ago assessing the squad and I circled that area. I remember doing it and saying that is where it'd be nice if Villa could upgrade somehow. We still haven't done it. If Hector Fort comes in from Barcelona, I mean, maybe he's a player in the attacking third up will offer more than Cash, but does he offer more defensively than Cash? I don't know. Again, it just feels like we've been waiting to go out and get someone in that role, but it's difficult to do this summer because financially we are kind of essentially under a light transfer embargo. We sort of are. And there's only so much we can do. What I will say about it is that I think with Villa not spending masses this summer and probably on course to sell a couple of key players next summer for a lot of money, it might therefore ensure that next summer, if we end the season well enough, that we can go on and actually revolutionise the team in the way we probably will need to do within the next year. Yuri is no number 10. Marlon, a new signing, should have come on at half time. Yes. Actually, that's something I didn't mention. Villa defensively, pace-wise, first half, didn't look right. McGinn, I thought, did well at times, causing problems for Livramento. But to have pace there, I think at least in the 60th minute, it looked like it was needed. The fact that we didn't make that sub and then Consa got sent off in 68th minute around then. I do think Emery waited too long to bring pace on. I think it would have been nice to have had Gesson and Marlon in that right role and just do something in there. Something I will say though is I think having Asensio come in, if he does come in that number 10 role, will be good because I just felt first half what my thought in my head was Tielemans shouldn't be there. Tielemans should be back in the Onana role, and Onana can come on as a substitute. It's kind of what I was thinking. Robert Boyle, at least we can be confident now when Martinez is not available. Absolutely. We've been crying out for that for about 3 years. Please please subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, reviews on Apple really help. 5-star reviews as well on Apple. 5-star reviews on your phone app on Spotify really help as well. Good afternoon from Robert Ball. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for your comment. Top 6 for most club will be really difficult this year. Yes, it will. Very competitive this year. But I think have a watch of Tottenham and Newcastle and how they cope with the extra Champions League workload. We don't know what Man United are this season. But regardless, top 6 is going to be competitive. It is. It's a tough old Premier League. Probably the most competitive league in Europe now. Robert Ball, when you face Newcastle, you have to fight hard. You do. You have to be prepared for the harder, faster, stronger, as Daft Punk would have once said. That's what Newcastle are. So, yeah. And first half, we just weren't at it. Lee Johnson, good to see you again, Lee, mate. Happy new season. Started the new season like we finished the last with 10 men and a ref giving our opponents everything. Yes, I think referee-wise, I think he was okay. I'm probably going to disagree with that. I think what I would say is there were times when I felt like Dan Burn got away with a fair bit against Watkins. I feel like Watkins didn't get a lot today and maybe should have had 1 or 2 more fouls. But I think overall, it's not really one to look at the ref. I think he was right to send off Consa. Shot ourselves in the foot. That's the problem today, I think. We played better with 10 men than with 11 in the first half. Yes, we did actually, yeah. Mad. I guess it's because it forced us into pure concentration for half an hour or 25 minutes. But also, it put Newcastle into a scenario in which, like I said earlier with Mourinho teams, they're not they're not great, I think, at breaking down a defensive back wall because essentially they play like that. A tight 4-5-1, exactly as I said the other day in the preview show. But what Villa were good at in the second half was finding those kind of Onana into Tielemans off to Rodgers into, this sort of like zigzag passing through it. And maybe it would have led to a goal if we'd stuck with 11 men. Maybe. Melty Shirts. Why do we so often show up and start important games like a team we've never played together before? I thought our whole strength this year was supposed to be settled team with a full preseason. Yeah. You could say that against Newcastle and Man United for sure. We didn't turn up in either of them to start with. I mean, we didn't turn up at all against United, but Newcastle today, first half, we just weren't there. Danny McGinn cannot last 90 minutes in issue, especially as a captain. Yeah, I think though with Europe, it's good to have players who can go full pelt for 60, and then have a squad player who can come on for 30. It's a shame we've lost Ramsey in that sense. I think he was a really key sort of finisher player in that way. We'll see how we cope. We'll see how we cope this season. Richard Laws outplayed, outpaced, and outmuscled. Only thing worse than Villa was the ref. Yeah, first half I'd put it like that. I think second half we looked like. Second half, you can give us credit for we were a lot better for the first 15, but then when we had to defend, we did well. But first half, all of that is totally true. Bezo was man of the match. He was by miles. Kamara was good, I thought, but Bezo was excellent. Yeah, really, really positive display from him. Kamara and Bezo, class acts. Yeah, agreed, Melty. Cash played well. I think at times he made ridiculous passes. Rash decision making in that sense. But yes, defensively, I think he did quite well at points. Didn't really give a lot to Barnes. Stood up well to Trippier when he got forward as well. So yeah, you do have to credit him for that. Yeah, but I'm just really disappointed in the ball he put across that led to the red. It's just you just can't afford to make those poor decisions in the Premier League because you just get punished. Beers man of the match says Weston. Yeah, he was. Lee Johnson far too much tripping over the ball and misplacing simple passes. Yeah, first half particularly. C'est moi. It is me. Cash has no final ball but defended well. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of him today. Yeah. Robert Boyle, Villa fans can't be passive anymore. The authorities are making it difficult for us. We need the fans to step up. Yeah, I think if we can use a kind of, we don't want to turn into a fan base of kind of, whingers and all that. But what we can do is use some pretty justified feelings of we've been screwed over at times, with kind of the rules. Although I think it's actually more UEFA rules this season are what causing us issues rather than the Premier League. But, look at the Man United game and the goal this allowed for Rodgers, which cost us Champions League football. Yeah, I think if we can sort of have a siege mentality and use that to go on and, get wins and make Villa Park a hostile atmosphere for the opposition, then yeah, great. Ironically, defensively down to 10 men, it's probably our best outfield player. I think that's Kamara, maybe. Well, West Ham in the 90s overachieved because their fans were horrendous to the opposition. Yeah, it's always good to make it hard for the opposition. Games done 12. We could not string 3 passes together. Yeah, I thought the second half looked like we were doing that a lot better. But first half, God no, we were awful. Robert Boyle, Emery has not been allowed to build his team. Fan needs to step in and carry the team more than ever now. Yeah, it's mad that we're still paying for decisions made during the Perslow's final year with Steven Gerrard, where we signed a lot of players for ridiculous contracts. And Emery hasn't really been able to kick on and probably build the squad he wants. It's amazing when you look at the first 11, how many of them were there when he joined. So yeah, it's pretty mad, really. Nick Carver-Watkins won a very similar penalty for Palace a couple of years back. Can't think of that off the top of my head. I'll have to look that up. Good to see you again, Nick Carver, as well. Weston, good to see you, mate. Totally agree. We looked so unsettled, and this is meant to be a team that's settled, so we're due to keeping 90% of the squad. Yeah. It might take just a few games to get the rhythm fully back. I mean, it is the start of the season. So it might just take a few games to really get going. And when we bring in Asensio, for instance, and maybe one other, maybe then we start to get that rhythm. And September, October is when we really start kicking on. More games will come as well. Saturday, Thursday, Saturday. It sort of forces you to build your rhythm. Robert Boyle, let's be an overachieving team despite what the authorities have done to us, but we need to have fans. Yeah, we do, of course. Nick Carver, Cash was throwing himself in front of everything after the red card, maybe trying to make up the error. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he blocked that. He saved us a goal. Barnes' volley was going in. And there was another one. There was another block he made, actually. Maybe it was Anthony Gordon. It was definitely, and then Trippier as well. Yeah, he did well in that final 25 minutes, and he had to make up for it. I don't like Tielemans further forward. At times he's looked good doing it, but I think in the first half it looked like a team who needed Tielemans deeper, making the sort of being the catalyst for passing from deep, because it just wasn't happening, was it? And there was just a lack of pace, from a kind of with McGinn and Tielemans there as front two players on the right. It just didn't look right, did it? Robert Emery would have replaced the defence if he was allowed to. Yeah, I'm sure he would have done something. Watkins' ball control is atrocious for a Premier League player. There are games where Watkins the ball can really bounce off him. Man United away at the end of last season was a game where that was a good example of that. There's games where he can be really, really poor, with ball retention. Today, it wasn't really. His first touch wasn't great, but then I think second half, I actually thought he was doing. I thought he did a really, really tough striker's job in the second half, and I think he deserves a lot of praise for it. He never stopped going. He did win fouls. He did make it, get into Dan Burn and Fabian Schär. He's chasing lost causes. I think he did well second half, Watkins. And I can see Weston says Watkins was poor. Yeah, first half he was. I think the entire team was poor first half, particularly players in the final third. Nothing was going on properly there. But I think we do have to praise Watkins for how he played in the second half, just as a kind of physical, difficult display. Please subscribe. Robert Boyle, we need the players to play to their strengths. Yes, that's true. Of course we do. Yeah. Peaky Villain. He's Peaky Villain has walked out of St Andrews with that flat cap and gone, Peaky Blinders aren't Blues. They would never support such a stupid team. He said, we're going to go down and be the villains. The sneaky villains that we are. McGinn is mediocre, not that good. No, I thought McGinn was all right today, actually, to be fair. I thought, given the role he was given, there's only some. He's not got the pace to be that kind of Leon Bailey style right winger, has he? I sort of think Gesson will work his way into that role. Emery is very cautious at starting new players, isn't he? Doesn't really. New signings tend to take a while to get going at Villa, or sort of a while to get their opportunity, other than Marco Asensio. But I thought McGinn caused a lot of problems for Livramento, to be fair to him. He's just not really a right winger, is he? Lee Johnson, what was up with Rodgers not seeing such a poor performance from him? I thought it was reminiscent of quite a few performances from him last season, in fairness. It's why I reiterate the point. I don't quite get it, why people seem to be constantly going at me for saying that, why I think Rodgers went out right last season. Because yes, he's not at his best on the right. Yes, I think he's at his best probably on the left in the Ramsey role. But there's a lot of games where he can really not retain the ball. He can attempt getting past a player or making a pass that's a gamble and it doesn't work, and then they come at us with an overload. I love Rodgers. I do. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player, but I do think he's got these performances in him, to be honest. I do. But then, of course, he has some performances in him that win you games, that the key passes here and there. He's fantastic. He is. Robert Ball, Man City have to play a different way this year because they've been found out. Can they do that? Yeah, I think they can. I think they might win the league. Omar Marmouche, their defense is not great. I don't think they've improved their defense enough, actually, which might cost them the league, which gives opportunity to Arsenal to do it. They haven't lost anyone, and they've improved, so big chance for them. Nick Carver, I can understand why we picked Dean as the better defender via Langer, but it meant that our left side carried less of a threat It could have been the case with Matson. We maybe missed Ramsey too. Yeah, we definitely missed Ramsey in that sort of left midfield role to start the game. I think Matt's a little bit reminiscent of the United game last season when we started very cautiously. I thought Villa were a bit too cautious in the first half, and I think starting Dean and Mings probably suggested we were going to be a bit more cautious. Professor Unai will have his reasons. I do think it probably meant that we couldn't really take it to Newcastle attacking wise as much as we probably did when we beat them 4-1 a few months ago. Bit cautious like the United game. Yeah, I can see that. Marlon comes on and within a few minutes has a shot on target. Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of goals for us this season. I do. Marlon's going to have a great season, says Rob. Well, yeah, I'm up for it. We now have to beat Newcastle at theirs. Yeah, good luck with that. We haven't won there since 2005. We're going on 20 years now. Mad. A couple of players in, even if on loan. Yeah, and I think we will. We will. Sensio, I think, will come in. Maybe Gesson is the pacey player, but I just feel like we lack pace. That's my worry for that attacking third at the moment. The Trossard link, okay, he's an excellent player, but he's not the pace that I think Villa need, losing Ramsey and Bailey. Lee Johnson, Newcastle are a horrible team to start season against, very competitive, 100 miles an hour. Yes, exactly worth making that point. As hard a team as you're going to play at home all season. They really are. Nick Carver-Rogers was maybe a bit of full fitness after that small injury, missing some preseason, didn't help his sharpness. Yes, I think that's a very fair point, and not one I made. Well, yeah, good point, Nick. He did miss, a good week there. Can someone explain how Newcastle get away with the kind of cynical late tackles that would be yellow cards for everyone else? No idea, mate. Absolutely no idea. They really are. I don't know. They get it. They get away with it. They always do. I don't know. Well, we have to beat Palace now. I mean, look, there's no big panic stations this early in the season, but getting 3 points early doors at home would be very nice. Yeah, and beating Palace, getting over that hoodoo would be much appreciated. Referees will not be on Villa's side, says Robert Boyle. Yeah, well, got to work through it. Lee Johnson, Newcastle are going to really struggle with that striker. They look like a team who didn't have a striker today, didn't they? Robert Boyle, fans and players need to accept that we will get no protection from referees. Yep. Trini Guna, I think you're new to the channel. Good to see you. Did Watkins get chances? He had one good one that went straight at the keeper. Otherwise, not really. No, I think he was more. He's hard working off the ball was good second half, but first half he, like everyone else in the final third, wasn't really at it. Barrier's life. Problem is we didn't score enough goals with the ball. Didn't score enough. Last season we should have scored more goals, and we need to get more this season. Premier League are watching Villa to make sure they don't sell players too high fee or buy them for too low a fee. Well, it's more UEFA. It's the UEFA rules at the moment we're having to deal with. David Bradbury, I think as well, we need to be more confident on the ball. Yeah, that'll come, says David. And good to see you, David. That'll come. Peak of Villa and Emery should have made subs earlier. I agree with that. I think 60th minute we should have got pace on. Whether it was Gesson or Marlon or both, I think we needed to change something. Somewhat never good when I'm look at the bench at 25 minutes into the game. Yeah, I know what you mean. Dennis Farrell, good to see you again, Dennis. I blame Emery. There were players out there underperforming, yet waits till 8 minutes to make a substitution. Awful. I can sort of see why he didn't make that sub when Conte got red carded, because I think he just looked at us defensively and thought, well, McGinn will do the defensive job tracking back. Kamara is probably our best option as a right centre-back. I can see why he didn't. But I think he should have made a sub when we were at 11. And I think it should have come 5-6 minutes before the red card. Calendar 6-4. Rogers is overrated. A nothing all game. Another Bailey. No, I disagree with that, in fairness. Calendar, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think he's a fantastic player, Rogers. I really do. And I think he'll go from strength to strength this season. Nick Carver, not sure Onana and Kamara as a double pivot offers enough in possession. Onana can carry it now and again, but neither has the vision execution for a full pass. Yeah, I mean, they worked well together when last season at Bournemouth away. Didn't we have like 3 games where they had to play as the double pivot can't exactly remember why that was. And they did well. I think in the first half today, I would have put Tielemans in the double pivot, just as a kind of better at retaining the ball under pressure. But I think they can work. They can work together. But you're right. Tielemans in the double pivot just works better in possession than it does with those two, I guess. Rob Hatton, good to see you again, Rob. Need more from Rodgers, doesn't do enough. I think he does enough. I think he certainly didn't do enough today, but I think you could argue that's the same with a lot of players. And a good point from Nick Carver, the one that I did make, was maybe just that week in pre-season. Maybe that did impact him a bit today. You can make that point. Bowl the villain. Hey, Frankie, good to see you again. Bolgy, always good to see you. Regular viewers, please like, please subscribe, please leave your comments here. Rob P, good to see you as well, mate. Feel the plan was to play the long game and let Newcastle put their huge pressure, then send in a few subs like Marlon Guesson to push in the last 20 minutes, but the red card changed the game. Yes, I think that probably is a fair assessment. Having Mings and Dean start the game would suggest to you that Villa were looking to soak up more pressure than perhaps we would have done if we were taking it to Newcastle. And I think the game plan, we were lucky to get away with it first half in that Elanga should have scored. Lucky to get away with it in that we presented the ball a lot to Newcastle and they probably should have done more with it. But then in the second half, they looked a tired team and Villa were passing at will, I thought, from 45 minutes till Conte's red card. And it looked like had we then made the sub of Marlon and Guesson coming on with pace, a bit of ingenuity from Guesson, we then could have worked our way to get in the goal and the winner. And it looked like that was a possibility. But we'll never know now. James D, good to see you, James. We were just very static when we were on the ball. Conversely, Newcastle opened up their body, created space, made runs, particularly in the first half they did, yeah. First half we were static. Peaky Villain, I don't understand why we play so slow. It's frustrating. But then again, 365 days without a loss at home, something's working. I think at times we costs us being casual or looking casual and slow when we concede silly goals and get a bit overrun. And I think at times we can give the ball away. In silly places when we're being that casual. And at times, like Man United away last season, it can really come back to bite us because we just can't get going. And the opposition team have just built momentum. Rodgers was poor today, says Richard Grosvenor. He was. I didn't think he was that good at all, to be honest. But yeah. Anyway, that's the end of the comments. I'm not sure there's going to be many people watching and engaging with this. I hope... please, anyone who does, please subscribe, please like, please share, all that stuff. Thank you for listening. I'll put this out on audio as well. Just a couple more quickly coming in. Richard Grosvenor, I'm at Aston train station waiting to get home. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Please tell everyone around you to give it a view and to give all Villa no filler a chance. And good luck waiting in those queues. Don't envy you standing in that, mate. Dennis Farrell, Buendia, could have been the difference. Too many misplaced passes. Yeah, maybe if Conte had stayed on the pitch, Buendia would have come onto the pitch. Maybe he could have done. A lot of misplaced passes in that final third. Repeat, that cross from Cash before the red card was diabolical. It was atrocious. Atrocious. Always going to be his flaw, that final third. He should never do that again. Yeah, well, hopefully never again. I think I'm going to end it there. We've gone 38 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you watch after this, leave your comments and I'll get back to them as well. Let me know what you thought about the game. But other than that, Villa, it's a draw against a competitor for top 5 this season. So, it's a point enough to start the season with, and let's go on and get them 3 points in the weeks to come. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Up the mighty Villa.